Have you ever noticed your reflection doing something you weren't? I never paid attention to mirrors before. They were just there, part of getting ready in the morning, checking if there was anything in my teeth, fixing my hair. But that changed 3 months ago, and now I can't stop thinking about what's watching me from the other side of every reflective surface I see. Let me take you back to where it started. It was just another Tuesday morning. Nothing special about it. I was running late for work, rushing through my morning routine like always. Splash some water on my face, brush my teeth, run a comb through my hair, the usual stuff. That's when I first noticed something off. You know how when you move away from a mirror, your reflection moves with you? Of course it does, that's how mirrors work, right? But that morning as I turned to grab my towel, I swear I saw my reflection stay still for just a fraction of a second too long, like a video feed with slight lag. I stopped, turned back, stared at myself in the mirror. Everything looked normal. My tired face stared back at me, dark circles under my eyes from another late night at the office. My black hair was messy, needed a trim. The bathroom light flickered slightly. I'd been meaning to change that bulb for weeks. "You're just tired," I told myself. "Get it together, Mark." But I couldn't shake this feeling, like when you're home alone and suddenly become convinced someone's watching you. That prickle on the back of your neck. That instinct deep in your gut telling you something isn't right. I leaned closer to the mirror, studying my reflection. My green eyes stared back at me. My stubble needed a shave. Everything was exactly as it should be, but something felt wrong, like looking at a photo that's been edited so subtly you can't quite put your finger on what's been changed. The light flickered again. I blinked. My reflection didn't. It was just for a split second. So fast I almost convinced myself I imagined it, but I know what I saw. While my eyes closed, my reflection stayed open, staring at me. I stumbled backward, heart pounding. My elbow knocked over a cup of toothbrushes. They clattered into the sink with a sound that seemed deafening in the quiet bathroom. When I looked back at the mirror, everything was normal again. My reflection moved when I moved, blinked when I blinked. But the damage was done. I couldn't unsee what I'd seen. I called in sick to work that day, spent hours researching mirror phenomena, optical illusions, anything that could explain what I'd seen. I found plenty of myths and legends about mirrors. Souls getting trapped inside them, portals to other dimensions, all that stuff. But nothing scientific, nothing real. That night I covered all the mirrors in my apartment with sheets. I felt stupid doing it, like a kid hiding from the monster under their bed. But it was the only way I could sleep. The next morning I had almost convinced myself it was all in my head. Lack of sleep, too much stress at work, maybe that weird takeout I had the night before. I uncovered the bathroom mirror, determined to face my fears and get on with my life. Everything seemed fine at first. I went through my morning routine, keeping my movements deliberate and slow, watching my reflection carefully. Nothing unusual happened. I started to relax. That's when I saw it smile. I wasn't smiling. I was concentrating, focused on watching for any strange movements. But my reflection's lips curved upward in a slight smirk. Just for a moment. Then it was gone. I spent the next week avoiding mirrors as much as possible. I shaved by feel, styled my hair without looking. My coworkers started giving me weird looks. I probably looked like a mess, but I couldn't face mirrors anymore. Because every time I did, things got worse. The lag between my movements and my reflections became more noticeable. Sometimes it would turn its head slightly, examining me from different angles while I stood frozen in fear. And the smiles, they started lasting longer, growing wider. Less like my smile and more like something trying to imitate a human smile without quite understanding how it should look. I started seeing things in other reflective surfaces too. Windows, the screen of my phone when it was turned off, the chrome coffee maker in the break room at work. Brief glimpses of movement that shouldn't be there. A face that was almost, but not quite, mine. Last night, things escalated. I was getting ready for bed, exhausted after another day of avoiding my own reflection. I had to use the bathroom, but the mirror was still covered with a sheet. As I washed my hands, I noticed the sheet move slightly. Just a tiny flutter, like it was caught in a breeze. There was no breeze. All the windows were closed. I stood there watching the sheet, my wet hands dripping water into the sink. The flutter came again, then again, like something behind it was moving closer to the surface of the mirror. I reached for the sheet. My hands were shaking. I knew I shouldn't look. Every instinct was screaming at me to run, but I had to know. I pulled the sheet down. The mirror was dark, like a window into a dimly lit room. My reflection was there, but it wasn't mirroring my movements anymore. It stood perfectly still, hands pressed against its side of the glass. That terrible smile stretched across its face. Its eyes, they weren't my eyes anymore. They were darker, deeper, like holes leading somewhere I didn't want to think about. I stumbled backward, but it didn't move. It just stood there watching me. Then slowly, deliberately, it raised one hand and pressed a finger to its lips. Shh. Its other hand started pushing against the glass. I swear I could see the surface of the mirror rippling, like water about to break. I ran, grabbed my keys, my phone, got out of the apartment as fast as I could, drove to a hotel. That's where I am now recording this. But here's the thing, hotels have mirrors too. And as I sit here, talking into my phone, trying to warn people, I can see my reflection in the TV screen. It's not recording anything. It's just sitting there, smiling at me. If you're watching this, please be careful around mirrors. Pay attention to your reflection. And if you ever notice it moving just a fraction of a second too slowly, cover every mirror you own, because I don't think what's looking back at you is really your reflection anymore. And whatever you do, don't smile back at it.